Godzilla before he destroys the city. I'm saying a prayer. A prayer for the whole world. What could he want? Unless we find something to appease him, we're doomed!
Hold out, for the happy on every hold out the time to get burned. Don't be sold out, hold out, it's a taste that's extraordinary. No doubt it's time to get burned. Dr. Pepper, hold out, for the happy on.
What's up? Hey, it moved me into the first position. That's not supposed to happen. What's up, everybody? And thanks for tuning in. Got a few people watching already. Good morning, I should say. Ohio gozaimasu. And this is really Leslie's show. I'm going to move myself way over to where Marcellus is so Leslie can take the chair.
Oh, God, as you saw when we came live, that I had this infectious smile on my face, and I've been having this smile for the past like 3 or 4 days since I got what I'm about to reveal momentarily, or later on in the stream, I should say. God, I'm looking at it right now, and I can't wait to unveil it, but this would have been very easy for me to do it on the Collect All Monster Collectors group. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's not too many versions of this particular guy out there this size, so I wanted to bring it to the main show, to the main channel. So momentarily, we will be unveiling the Tengetsu Crafts resin model kit of the 1984 Godzilla Abyss with super cool appearance in the first ever Heisei film. Technically it's a show of film, but we ain't got to go into semantics, blah, blah, blah. The first unofficial film of the
I'm here for all the semantics.
Yeah. The return of Godzilla, also known as Godzilla 1985. And I cannot do this unveiling without these two awesome special people right next to me, not Gyra. That Gyra right there. Because these two awesome people were responsible for me having this kit in the first place. So I'm going to give you a huge shout out and thank you. An introduction to, of course, a great monster collector, and he's like coming to his own as like one of the newest additions to like the kaiju modeler, builder, painter. He's like a Jedi master at this point, quite frankly. He's an inspirational speaker, motivational speaker, a pastor, and he is awesome, a great, awesome human being, and a great addition to our awesome fandom. He's also a cool friend of mine, close friend of mine, family, if you will. The one and the only, Marcellus Winters. How you doing, Marcellus?
Man, I'm good, bro. I'm excited to be here, man. I feel good. I'm a friend. I love that.
First off, Sandra's loving you right now because you got the GMK shirt, even though it looks
Sandra.
It looks kind of tight on you. Is that an extra medium shirt you got on? Or I can see the blood.
I can't help it, man. I can't help it.
I know you got guns. You ain't got to show me up on my own show, man. I know you got guns. It's all right. It's okay. But seriously, thank you for being here. We do appreciate it. We appreciate you working on this kit, building and painting this kit to my ultimate perfection. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
And last, certainly, but not least, our fearless leader on Collect All Monsters. Yes, he's the one that brought this kit back from Japan and sent it to Marcellus to have it built and painted for me. Of course, you know him, you love him, the one, the only, Kyle Young. How you doing, Kylie?
Buddy, I'm doing great. It's good to see both of you guys here. And yeah, you're right. I love this movie. It was pleasure to be able to get this kit for you, and I'll tell more about that when we get to it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now let's do, as we normally do around these parts when it comes to the streams, the chat check in. So let's go. We got 22 people watching right now. Thank you so much for this awesome reveal. Of course, first and foremost, my beautiful wife. She's downstairs. What's up, babe? Thank you, Sandra.
Sandra, how's it going,
All right.
girl? What's up?
Godzilla Train 1090, Adrian, and he's always here, a firm supporter of our show and our efforts. Thank you so much. Of course, our very own David Eb.co. He's in the chat. What's going on, David?
Or I should do this for David, right? That's how David poses in his pictures in Japan.
Yeah.
Right.
And say quintessential like he does. Say it.
No. I want to say quintessential like you say, like he says it. Quintessential.
Yeah, the quintessential.
David does not say it like that, though.
Quintessential.
Quintessential.
Nah, you're joking, David. Don't kill me in the comment section. Of course, Liam Foley, Nathaniel Plummer, thank you so much. Greg Betters, Greg Coggin, Eric Stoltz, the Fancies of Cats, my #1 fan. Thank you so much. Alex Sawyer, Ryan Mitchell, yes, another great
What's
monitor.
up, Ryan?
Yes, thank you so much. Of course, Black Dolls Matter. That's John Ruffin's.
That's John Ruffin's brother. Yeah. We were just talking about you last night in our brainstorming meeting. You're going to hear from John about a cool project. Hopefully, you think it's cool. I don't know.
Hey, if it's involved in the Ruffin family, it's going to be cool regardless. We don't even know what it is, but it's going to be awesome.
One second.
Of course, let's see who else.
Mr. Ghidra.
Yeah, yep. Mr. Ghidra. So again, thank you so much for being here. I don't know where Marcelo just went to. He probably went to go check with his probation officer, knowing him. But we're gonna.
I thought he was just going to go get that Two-Face outfit.
Oh yeah, there you go.
I heard that.
And if you didn't get that reference, please check out our African American chat that we did on Collect All Moxes, and you would get the whole Two-Face Marcellus reference. And I don't want to go into it because we'll be on the floor laughing our butts off.
Yeah.
Nah,
Leslie, check it out, and you will get
Leslie,
that
what we talked about just came. That's what it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You go.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. I'll bring you in when that time comes. But
okay.
Of course, again, we're talking about the Tengetsu Crafts 55 centimeter resin model kit of the 1984 Godzilla. And as I always say, that it's that really our love for the collectibles and all that good stuff. It really starts with the movies. It starts with the movies and end with the movies. And of course, this Godzilla design is from, again, the unofficial start of the Heisei series, The Return of Godzilla 1984, also known as Godzilla 1985. And we'll go around the room. Kyle, you can go first, then Marcellus, and I'll bring it up on the end. But I do know that, Kyle, this was really your first official Godzilla film that made you a fan. I know that Rodan was really the first kaiju film that made you a fan, but I would assume that Godzilla 1985 or the 84, whichever version you watch, kind of like said, you know what, you're in this for the long haul. So just what does this film mean to you in terms of you being a kaiju fan today?
Well, let me just really quickly touch on the Rodan thing, because if people are watching and they haven't heard the story, basically I like many kaiju fans, big dinosaur fan as a child, which then I started to see like tokusatsu stuff on TV, like Space Giants and Spectre Man and stuff like that. But it wasn't until I was in a toy store, saw the Shogun Warriors Rodan, and I was like, ooh, I like that dinosaur. We eventually got it. And then years later, my mom was like, oh, we were in a video store. She's like, that is the movie for that toy you have. And that was my introduction to Japanese monster movies. Okay. And I thought it was just sort of like, that's a movie. And then that was it. And then when I was 13, we lived in Japan. My dad worked for IBM. And so we lived there for a year for his work. And while I was there, I put on the English language channel on the TV one day, and Godzilla 1985 proper came on, and it was the first time I'd ever seen Godzilla in motion, in live action. I'd only seen the cartoon, the Hanna-Barbera cartoon.
Oh, yeah.
And it blew my little teenage brain into little bits, and that's what made me into a person ready to become a kaiju fan. And from there, that's when I learned that, oh, this character has like movies behind it, and like it's not just this one killer movie. But Godzilla 1985 really blew me away when I was 13.
How about you, Marcellus? When was the first time you watched this film?
Man, I can't. We actually went to the movie to see it when that thing came out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I actually saw it. It was like, it was weird because I haven't watched it in a long time, and so seeing it now, I didn't know all of the back then when I first saw it. I just thought it was just amazing him just being as vicious as he was, but I didn't know it had so many connections to the 1954. I never knew that. I never knew it was picking up. I just loved it. You know, I just love the whole vicious tear up. I'm just doing whatever I want type of deal. I mean, it's like it's the top Heisei, one of the top Heisei. I mean, I love it. But I was real little, man, and it was so weird because that was probably from there. I only seen it maybe like 3 times since then. I don't want to say how long ago that was when I was little because it was a long time ago.
Whatever.
I'm still only 38, so I don't want to.
I buy that. You know what? As they always say, it's not how old you are, it's how young you think. You know what I mean? So I'm like 4 years old at this point. But but my exposure to this film, this was one of the, I mean, I've said this many times before on Collect All Monsters and on my channel, that this one of the films that I saw in my early going as a fan. Because, you know, y'all know my first film was Megalon. So I was exposed to a lot of different Godzilla films around that time, mostly Showa ones. Megalon, King Kong versus Godzilla, the original 56, Godzilla Raised Again, Son of Godzilla, Sea Monster, Monster Zero, Gigan, Mechagodzilla 74. And, you know, all those, with the exception of the 56, all those versions of Godzilla were like the happy-go-lucky Godzilla. That was the point where Godzilla started to evolve into a more friendly type of character to appeal to the kids or to appeal to the audience that they were going for. And right smack dab in the middle of all that, I saw Godzilla 1985. And I mean, Kyle said it blew him away. This film was like, wait a minute. Even from the opening, like, sound of the score when you watch the American version, it's like, wait a minute, this is not what I signed up for. 'Cause I was expecting to see the happy-go-lucky Godzilla. And then when you hear his like earth-shattering roar in the opening scene, and then when you see what he looks like, not to mention that awesome poster that they advertised for the film, yeah. I'm like, what kind of Godzilla is that? You know? So this is one of those films where that it really made me appreciate the darker tone when it comes to these films, or at least the darker side of Godzilla's character, quite frankly. And I do feel it's a film that it is highly underrated, because I know a lot of people come to Godzilla to watch him fight other monsters, but you don't get none of that in this film. But consider what was going on at the time, you know, with the Cold War tie-in and all that good stuff. It was a dark story that needed to be done to revitalize the series, because, you know, this film is a direct sequel to 1954. They don't acknowledge anything from 55 to 75 in the show.
Right.
I didn't really like that at first, but knowing what they were going for, they were trying to reestablish Godzilla as a more fearsome monster. And him flying, tail dragon drop kick, you know, you can't acknowledge that and go for what they were going for in 85. So I get why they get that. They did that. So this is one of those films that I've always loved this film, and I've always loved this design. My next question involving the film, okay, Kyle, again, this was your first film, Godzilla film. Has it aged well with you? Like, do you still love this film the way that you loved it when you first saw it?
So for Godzilla 1985, and I'm talking about the difference between the Americanized version and the Japanese cut, right? So for me, Godzilla 1985 has aged like a fine wine. It is wonderful. Even the hokey stuff is, it's hokey, but like they do a good job of like playing it off so that it's not as bad as it is. Like the Dr. Pepper machine in the hallway of the American forces is just a little too much. But I think I really love the edit of the American one, and then I do really enjoy the fact that they brought Raymond Burr back, and he lended such a gravitas to the film, made it so much darker than it could have been if you didn't have him in those scenes, right? Like the American military is making jokes at people, making jokes about like Japanese urban renewal program, and Raymond Burr's character, Steve Martin or Dr. Martin, I think they call him, or Mr. Martin. He just like shakes his head, totally does an SMTH. Anyway, for me, the American cut is actually where it's at, but I do appreciate the Japanese one. It's just a little slower and not as intriguing. But I wanted to point out, because a lot of people haven't seen Godzilla 1985 because it's just not available. Except for
it's not. It really
nefarious
is not.
means. I would say that what people would miss if they didn't see it is that there was a crazy Cold War propaganda spin happening in the American version, where the Russians are like fighting to launch a missile, where in the Japanese version they are fighting to stop a missile launch. And I was just like reminded of that as I was watching it this morning, and just kind of like, wow, what an interesting difference in the two versions of this film. But I really do love the film. I think it's aged pretty well, but you know, it is my nostalgic film, so I give it so much leeway. I, for some reason, give it more leeway than the Japanese version. I don't know why, but yeah, there's an answer to it.
I love it.
Marcellus, has it aged well with you too?
Yeah, I think Kyle hit it when he said it aged like fine wine. I love the whole Raymond Burks, how they brought him back in there, and it was here probably in the last couple of years when I had watched it again from not watching it from years ago. And like I said, I did not. The first time I saw it, when I saw it at the movies, I remember I was at Rolling Acres Mall when they used to have the movie theater, and I had to be in early 20s or something. But watching it now, I didn't know all of the connections to the 54 back then. Because I just say, oh man, it's a new 85 Godzilla movie coming out, and you know, we just went to go see it. But looking at it here, especially while I was doing the build, I watched it every single day, sometimes a couple times a day when I was doing the build, because I'm always doing that. So hey,
Thank you.
Not
Thank
me,
you.
apparently. I guess I'm just
right. This is 50, so you know,
looking like Godzilla crap over here.
So,
It's cool, man. Fancy as
I really appreciated it now. Watching it now, especially when I was doing the build, I really appreciated it because I saw so many elements in the movie, so many connections. You know, like when Steve Martin came on there, I really never put two and two together back then. So I really do. I really love it. Especially, I really fell back in love with it when I'm gonna go back when X Plus dropped that 84. You know, I went back and started looking at it, and I was like, oh man, I started appreciating the scope more because that was one of the things I didn't pay attention to, and you were right. I'll read the comment. It didn't. You didn't see it a lot because it wasn't available. You couldn't really get that movie. And so now I have a screen where I just hit one button and it comes up in HD. So I watched it so many times now. I think it has been overlooked. I think it's one of the top dogs, I would say, of ushering in that whole new era of Godzilla. You know, I love it. I hope this. I'm gonna say this. I hope the new one kind of can pick up a little bit from some of the things that they got in that movie. Like his fierceness, the way he did things, that look. Because when the 85 dropped, that was like a whole different look. You know, that was a whole different type of suit that came in there, man. So I love it. I really, and like I said, I appreciate it now, especially doing the build more than I did back then because there's so many other things I understood in it. You know, but yeah, it's doing good. It aged very, very well. Probably it aged like me.
I like fine wine, right?
Everybody agrees in the comments on that.
Everybody agrees on that.
I appreciate that. I appreciate it.
I was gonna just really quickly say, if you don't mind, Leslie, like
Go for it, sir.
one of the things that sort of strikes me about the '85 version, and you touched on this as my first film, is that it's sort of set my nostalgic Godzilla dial to the force of destruction Godzilla, the
Yeah.
Godzilla that he's not necessarily evil, he's not necessarily good, he is a force of nature. And they've got some really great lines in the US version, which I think in
Yeah.
the Japanese, what do you call it, the international version, they might not have such well crafted dialogue, but
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons I prefer that movie. But yeah, that's the '85 is what made me go, oh, that's my Godzilla style, you know.
Right.
Yeah. And I agree with both of y'all. This film has aged like fine wine for me. It's unfortunate that, they have not put out the '85 version on home Blu-ray or home video just yet. They did, the '84 from Kraken several years ago. And when that thing came out, I was like, great, because, if you got the original 5 to 54 Godzilla from the Criterion Collection, they not only have the original Gojira, but they included the 56 American counterpart. So I thought that Kraken was going to do the same thing when they brought out in 1984. Man, I got home and I put that thing in. I was looking through the supplemental stuff for the Blu-ray. I was like, where is it? And it wasn't there.
Right.
And that's unfortunate. And even to this day, like, this film has somewhat of questionable reputation when it comes to the mainstream fans, But again, I've always enjoyed this film, and I have been one of the vocal ones that have said that, because I've been told for years when I got to the fandom that, because I grew up on '85, just like Marcellus and Kyle, and I'm sure like all of y'all did, but I was told by a lot of different people, like, dude, if you love '85, you would love '84, and they built up '84 for me for so long. I was like, well, I can't wait to get it. Which one of the reasons why when I got the Kraken Blu-ray, I was like, yeah, I was looking for '85. I was like, but let me just see what the '84 is talking about. And again, I've been one of the vocal minority that says that I find the '84 version absolutely boring. I can't get into the '84 version. I mean, say what you were about the '85, the corny jokes, the fact they kind of downplay some of the characters, blah, blah, blah. But I don't think '85 does a bad enough job, like a lot of people try to say. I mean, yes, when you sit down and think about it, the '84 is probably the better told story of the two films. But in terms of pacing, in terms of how things are structured in the film, I think '85 does it better, because there are a lot of times where Godzilla in '84, there's just scenes of him just standing there, not really doing anything. But they cut out like some of the like stuff like that. They trimmed down the sea louse scene, which was awesome, because if you watch the uncut version, that sea louse looked like it was comical seeing that guy wrestle with that obvious prop. You know what I mean? But that's why I will always really advocate more so with the '85 film. And what I appreciate about this film, kind of like what Kyle just touched upon, that this film really establishes, yes, Godzilla is the antagonist. A villain is a strong word to call this Godzilla. He's not like the GMK or maybe King Goji from King Kong versus Godzilla. To me, this Godzilla appears more so like a curious animal.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the destruction that he causes is from him being attacked first by the military, right? And they established Godzilla, even Raymond Burr says it in the American version, that Godzilla is no different than a force of nature. And when you sit down and think about it, a force of nature could be an earthquake, it could be a typhoon, a hurricane, or a bad storm, where basically they'll just show up out of nowhere. You don't know when it's coming, but they just show up out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. You have to just protect what you can while they're there, and then they'll eventually move on, and then you have to pick up the pieces after they've gone on. And that is basically what Godzilla is in this film. Really the Heisei period, when you really think about it.
Right.
But that's why I really advocate more so for the '85 film. Nothing against the '84, but between the two, I prefer '85. You know what I'm saying? Now, before we go into how Kyle got this kit, go around the room, 2 rounds. But what are your 2 favorite moments? It may not be your top 2 favorite, but what are your 2 favorite moments or scenes from Godzilla 1985? Kyle, go.
Okay, so number 1 is, in most of the Godzilla movies, you get this killer appearance. of Godzilla. And so
that.
at the very
Yeah.
beginning of the film, when he erupts out of the volcano, you don't get to see him. So that doesn't count as the appearance of Godzilla. But when he shows up at the nuclear power plant, from the
Yeah.
start of that scene
Yeah.
through the end of it, goosebumps, dude. It's
Yeah.
so good. All the way to when Godzilla stomps away following those birds. That is such a great moment in Godzilla's history. Like the ground cracking open as the security guards falling back. I love that scene. And then the second scene that I think like just really resonates with me, which is coming off the whole goosebumps feel that I just did, is Steve or Dr. Martin, Mr. Martin's monologue at the end when Godzilla's falling into the lava of the mountain, and it's just like the most well written piece of dialogue in the entire Godzilla series is this
Absolutely.
this moment where he's like once again relating Godzilla to a hurricane, talking about man's hubris. It is just chef's kiss good. So those are my top two. And I could probably keep going if you said like what are your top 10. I'll probably keep doing that too.
That's
Don't act
great.
like a big shot. You just got to town.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Wait, I was about to say that. I was about to say that, Kyle. The third one would definitely be, you just got to town. He was trying to make his meal. He made all that food and then threw it out. Man, you hit it. I was about to say, whenever I started, I always started, man, 26 minutes in, because it leads to that nuclear power scene, man, when it's just showing the power scene coming through the clouds. That scene is
His
so
point
dope.
of view. His point of view.
Right, it's so dope. And then when he falls, and when the security guard falls, and look at him from the toe going all the way up.
Yeah,
I love
buddy.
that whole thing. The dope part about it too is when after he drops the nuclear reactor, that whole kind of slow motion scene where he's turning, walking away, following the sound of the birds. I love that opening scene. I was about to say that same thing, the ending scene when he is marching to that volcano. I don't know. That whole narration of that is just it's so dope. I love that. I love that whole narration of that. It was so funny because Kyle said exactly. It was the beginning scene, the ending scene, and then you could just add everything in between there, from the whole fight scene in the city. You can just tear up the city. But I love that beginning scene, that ending scene, man. That opening scene, though, you just hearing them footsteps and seeing them coming through the clouds, seeing that the
That was
power
such a
plant
cool
opened
angle.
up.
Yeah.
Killed that. Yeah, those are two of my favorite things too. The way Steve did that at the end, and him falling into that volcano like that, man. Now, I'm telling you, I don't know, because I just started collecting. I never referenced so many things, so I never really referenced the volcano scene picked up from the 89, from 89. So going back. So I never knew all of that until I started watching it so much here. Man, there was so many dope parts in that movie. So I never knew 89 was him coming back up out the volcano. So yeah, it was pretty dope. That beginning and that end scene for me. Definitely.
It's tough for me to talk about just two. Because there's so many epic moments in this film. This is one of the few films that when Godzilla is not on screen, you still feel his presence. You know what I mean? Kind of like the 54. But the one I'm going to mention here, because there's so many to choose from, I love the Soviet sub attack scene. And again, just like what I just said, Godzilla's not even on screen at that moment, but he's there, and just them firing. They spot something in the water. They don't know what it is. They fire 2 torpedoes at it, and they have like a sigh of relief. And then all of a sudden, one of the operators said, "Whatever it is still coming." And then it's like that music just slowly builds up, and he's on top of the sub, and then it just the interior of the sub just starts just crashing, and then. And again, the whole beauty about that scene for me is like Godzilla's not on screen. It's like they established Godzilla as such a fearsome threat, and again, he doesn't have to be on screen for that. So that's
I think
one
you
of my
get
favorite
like
moments.
his arm crushing the sub just in one quick shot or something like that.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
Good
great
stuff.
stuff.
Also, again, like I'm like, I am loving this whole conversation. It is definitely making me say, yeah, this is the nostalgia film
Yeah,
for
it
me
is.
because it's really easy for me to ignore the flaws of this film. Like, there's plenty of flaws, but yeah,
Yeah.
like just it's such a core part of my Godzilla fandom is this film, honestly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And my second favorite scene, again, this is hard to choose, but I'm just mentioning this anyway. When he pops up at the bridge, and the military has that defense line, and they spot Godzilla in the bay, and they're throwing everything they can at him. All of a
Yeah.
sudden, he just pops up at the bay, at the foot of the bridge, and those soldiers are still there. Why they didn't run away before that point, I have no idea. And Godzilla just goes from side to side, and he just
White.
obliterates the entire
Yeah, that is
bridge.
dope.
Yeah,
He
you know,
goes
we
from-
talk a lot about how, as fans, we talk a lot about how like, oh, there's no like not a lot of on-screen deaths with Godzilla. They really like pulled back the destruction. And I'm watching it this morning, and I'm like, nah, those people are
Yeah.
dead. Like
Yeah,
that guy right there ran across the screen flaming. Like
Yeah.
that's not something I was thinking he's gonna survive.
Yeah, and Godzilla goes from right to left and just sprays the entire
Yep.
bridge. And then it's like in one shot, the bridge is exploded. Then in the final shot, when he goes from left to right in the opposite direction, there is nothing but burnt rubble, burnt bodies, charred military equipment, and he just surveys all the damage he's done. And he just roars, basically saying, "I'm back. You can't stop me. Tokyo is mine." Like, I just love that moment. That moment always gets me pumped whenever I see it. So I guess to put a bow on the movie portion of this discussion, yes, Godzilla 1985, The Return of Godzilla 1984, it's a wonderful film. Both cuts, whether you're a fan of 84 over 85, that's fine, or vice versa. But again, I think it's a film that really is a standout entry, and I think a lot of people should talk about it more. And you know what? We're going to do that come next year, because next year is the 40th anniversary of the Return of Godzilla. So I'm looking forward to see what awareness, videos, or even collectibles that we may see involving Godzilla 1984, also known as Godzilla 1985. Now, let's go towards more so the kit. And again, I got this kit, well, actually, technically, my good friend Kyle got this kit for me when he went to Wonderfest in February. And we talked, before, and I was joking at first. I was like, Kyle, when you go to Wonderfest, you better bring me back a kit. I was really joking. But then he was like, dude, like, I can help you out with that if you're serious. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. And at first, I wanted him to get me the Monster Maker 28 Heisei Gauss that they teased, like, I want to say like a month, or at least 2 or 3 weeks before the show. I was like, that's the only thing I would really want, quite frankly. But then, like, the week of, when Kyle was on his way to Japan, Tengetsu teased on their Twitter that they were doing this kit of the 84. And when I found out it was gigantic size, I was like, oh, let me just, I typed in Kyle real fast, like, Kyle, this is what I want. So if you can find it, please get it. I guess, Kyle, take it from here. Like, what was it like, when you went to that guy's booth at Wonderfest and all that good stuff, and just talk about the experience there.
Sure, man. Like, so I'll just briefly say, if people didn't catch us chatting about this during our February episode, we were approached by a TV crew in the airport for a show called "You wa Nanichi Nippon ne," which means "What are you doing in Japan?" And they were interested in following us around. And we were there. I was there with collectors for the very first inaugural Collect All Monster Collector Invasion trip, and we had a group of 7. Kind of flexed a little bit. Sometimes we had 9 to 10 people in our group, depending on who was hanging around that day. But yeah, we had this group of nerds. They were super excited to follow us around, but we basically got them to. They met up with us the morning we went to Wonder Festival, and they met up with us again at the end of the trip when we went to Kaiju Sakaba. But going back to Wonder Festival, they met us at the hotel, and we basically went to Wonder Festival together. They filmed the entire time, going to Wonder Festival, waiting to get into Wonder Festival, getting into Wonder Festival, and then they caught up with me after my first purchase, which I got these tanks from one table. And as I was telling you before, Leslie, Wonder Festival is at a very large venue. And so I had to go to get into the building, I had to go into this one entrance, and then I had to go way over to this side to get the tank. And then you were next in line, so I went way over to the side to get to the
Thank you.
Tengetsu crafts. And so let me just share the table here. The Tengetsu crafts table. I have this photo. This is what it looked like, and this is just me. They're literally, by the way, the TV crew is literally behind me, filming me, like get my wallet out and like pay for this thing, and that's the guy with the mask on right there. That's the Tengetsu Crafts guy, I think, because he's the one getting the kit for you right there. That's the box that I sent you. Anyway.
Oh, okay. Was he the
So basically
sculptor,
they
or
have,
did
this is like a general, it's like any other show. They'll have tables, and on top of the tables they'll have product, and then all the products in the back behind them, right? But it's just this big open kind of area. And so he had this guy sitting on the table, and I was just like, this thing is freaking huge. Then he goes to get the box, and he hands me the box in a plastic bag, right?
Yeah.
And this is not one of the plastic bags like that you get in the States these days. That's like made of recycled material, and it's like you're supposed to reuse it a bunch. It felt like one of the old school. This is gonna rip because it's so heavy. This thing was freaking heavy, man. That box was big. That was a very big box. But yeah, he hands it to me. I hand him the money, and I say thanks and go. And basically, I then carried Leslie's kit around Wonder Festival for probably about an hour before I got to the X Plus booth. And my good, amazing friend Matsubara was like, "Kyle, would you like for us to hang on to that for you in the back of the booth here?" I was like, yes, thank you, please. So the X Plus actually hung onto your kit for me, so I didn't have to haul
How
around this
ironic.
big kit. Yeah, and then right, they were holding a gigantic. Maybe they're studying it when we weren't paying attention. And
I
they'll
was
release
thinking
a
that.
gigantic, right?
Yeah.
But
I'll talk about
which,
that
by the way,
momentarily.
dude, holy crap! Just the size of that thing. I mentioned it earlier. I didn't realize that it was going to be a gigantic kit until I approached the table, and I was like, "Whoa, big boy!" So very impressed, just overall with it. The other thing I'll say about it is eventually I did relieve X Plus of watching your kit, because we went and got lockers, and we basically were able to like put our stuff in lockers and just kind of like hang out. But yeah, the aspect of going to the show and rushing from one end to the other was a rush in itself. But the let's see how to say this, like getting to a table and realizing the thing you want to buy is sold out is actually pretty crushing, especially if you're like, if it's at the top of your list. So getting to my first stop's table and being able to get these was awesome. And I was on cloud nine. And then I was like, I got to go find this other table. So the TV crew like runs after me, and I found Tengetsu Crafts. And when I got there, it was available. So again, cloud nine. I was so stoked that I was able to get that for you. And then it sat, we actually had it delivered from Wonder Festival to the hotel. And then that was basically like a cheap service offered through Yamato Transport. This is the boring stuff. And then I shipped it from the hotel, essentially. There's a post office near the hotel. I shipped it directly to Marcellus from there, which was the first time I've ever shipped anything on my own in Japan, and I was like really nervous about it. But oh, dude, Japan has been updating stuff like crazy, and they had a form. You basically go online, sign up for an account, and you just use this form to prep your information. So that morning, like me and two other guys were like going back and forth to like the dollar store to get like bubble wrap and wrapping tape and stuff like that, and then coming back to the hotel. And then once we all had it ready to go, we just kind of like hauled our boxes down to the post office and then shipped them off. It was so easy, dude. I was like totally expecting it to be a major pain in the butt, but it was honestly, it was about as breezy as I could imagine it being.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you so much for doing that.
My pleasure.
Because I assumed that you bought the kit And it's simple that as soon as you walked in, there was a table, you bought it, you held on to it, all that other good stuff. I didn't know that you had to go across country to get it. And then I didn't know that you were hauling 50 pounds in your hand and you had to go through all that. So that really means a lot to me that you would go that far for me. So no jokes aside,
For
I mean,
sure.
I can't thank you enough. I love you, man. I don't know what to say. The fact you did that, because you know, I'm very grateful whenever somebody does something for me or goes over and beyond for me. I wasn't expecting that. I mean, I knew you would get it for me because we talked about it, but now you telling me that you did all that really, really touches me. It
Oh,
really
buddy.
has. So I can't thank you enough for doing that.
It was seriously my pleasure. I mean, basically, the Wonder Festival was a dream come true kind of situation, and as a
Yeah.
collector, I also, for years and years and years, I have been on the reciprocating end of that, where it's like, boy, I really want this thing, but I don't have a way to get it, and because I'm not buying stuff really right now for myself because of the whole Japan move, so it just made sense. If somebody I knew wanted something and I was able to get it, I just tried to get it. So I had my little list. Like, I wasn't able to help everybody, but luckily not everybody at Wonder Festival was looking for a
A 50
$600 Godzilla kit.
or a 50 centimeter
Yeah,
tall
yeah.
kit. But again, thank you, because again, I assumed that you was talking about the Gauss when you messaged me, but then to my surprise, you was like,
Yeah.
"Nah, you got the big boy," and I was like, "Oh." So again, that made me happy, and of course, you had to send it off to again the new prodigy on the block. The new artist on the block, Marcellus Winters, who has built himself some cool clientele, I should say. Again, thank you, Marcellus, for doing this for me. Of course, you have done a few things for
Absolutely.
me. You've done the 91 Horizon kit. You've done those awesome gargantuas behind me. You've done the 1972 Resin Chef King Ghidra.
Mm-hmm.
So you have done some great stuff for me. You'll do more, trust me. You got more money coming your way from me. But I have to say, this is by far, I'm gonna get out of the way right now. This is by far the absolute best work you have ever done. So can you talk about, what did you enjoy most about making this kit? Were there any challenges, sculpt wise or whatever? What was the experience making this kit for me?
Man, uh, stitches, a split finger down to the bone, knuckle down to the bone.
Ugh.
Experience. No,
Marcellus, your blood is in your work.
it did. I literally split my head open with that thing. Uh, it was pretty. With me, with me, bigger the better. Uh, I did the Tengetsu craft, a couple of those before, and the scopes were of course going from the Monster Maker, because I did a KOC for you, from those to that. Um,
Yeah, that's right. You did the 54. Yeah,
it was a big swing because a lot of stuff don't fit, and so it being that big, I had to try to figure out some things. Let me give a shout out to some people though that helped me with some things. Don Legrand really helped walk me through a couple things with that, because when I got it, it was huge. That thing was huge, and there was a lot of work that you had to do as far as the dorsals. You had to cut out every single dorsal, and then after you cut out every dorsal, now you gotta trim it. You gotta trim and fit every dorsal into that spot, and then once you fit it into that spot, now you gotta fill it in between. So I had to do every dorsal like that. It ain't like other kids where you just slap them in and just glue them. So it was a lot of work. And then I kept watching the movie, and when Leslie was kind of like, Leslie with me, he don't really ask me, he just he don't ask me to build stuff. He don't. He's y'all should see how this dude treat me. You're making this is coming from so and so. I don't care 2 rat's tails what you got going on. Mind you, you're going to do it this way. I'm going to shoot you 8,000 pictures. It better look like this or better. Like I'm just, yes, sir. I didn't know we do business like this, but this is how he talks to me. So you know, and I just be like, oh, okay, you know, I don't ever want to know what the consequences is if I don't get it right. So I just do it. And so I'm really serious. I just do it, you know. And he'll ask you something, and then he's very stern in his text messages, so you can feel the heat. So I just, you know, he's like, you know, start. He'll shoot me in the eyes, then he'll do it again, and then I'll purposely not give him updates to just like frustrate him a little bit. And then what I
Smart.
do is like get
Smart.
to work. You know, I can't breathe. I don't have wife time. I don't have church time. I get 2 glasses of water a day. I get 1 meal and some bread. Like it's work, work, work. Get my stuff done. So I'm dead serious, Kyle. But no, for real, it was. That's like treat me. You know, 1 bowl of cereal. I really enjoy doing it. I did some things on it that Leslie, he always challenges me though. I do love that because I've only been building for about 9 months, but I've been an artist for years, and so Leslie always gives me a challenge with things. He wanted it a certain color. He wanted it to have a certain look, and then when I watched the movie, whenever I'm building, I'm watching movies, and I'm watching that movie continually. It's always on my thing, so I'm trying to find detail. So I was looking at his eyes, and Steve. Can't pronounce Steve's last name real good. What's the last name? Steve. How do you pronounce Steve's last name?
Sarah Jolie.
Sarah Jolie. He's a master of eyes, you know. And I went on Steve's thing, and I was looking at a lot of ways Steve do eyes in the corners and do different things, the techniques that Steve does to the eyes. So I was doing that along with the kit it's big, but it was hollow. And some areas where the resin was thicker than the other. So I had asked. That's when I asked John Legrand. You know, how did you make parts more solid? So he showed me another technique where I had to make the drop part of the tail solid, the connector solid, balance out the feet. So I had to drill holes and make the feet pour in this like mud clay to make the feet solid. And then I had to do the arms, turn him upside down and balance out the arms. So it was a good challenge. So the arms are weighed, so to give him a balance. It was a really good challenge, but I enjoyed it. The sculpt itself is absolutely amazing. It's an amazing sculpt. Parts, I had to do a lot of filling, a lot of sanding, a lot of gapping. But it's probably, to me, I think is it's the best. I'll say this. I was taking the head because I do things backwards. I built the thing and then I put the head in and then I do all of like the gapping last, so it gives me more work than I should. But when I did the head, I would pause scenes from the movie and put the head up against the screen to look at it. And when I tell you that it is probably the most accurate 85 suit, 84, 85 suit I have seen than any other figure.
Even more so than Sakai?
I mean, it's Sakai, you know, this Sakai is stylish. You know, it's really dope, you know, stylish, but hand in hand. You know, it was amazing suit. It was amazing sculpt. A very rough kind of, I won't say a rough casting, but it was cleaner than any of the castings that I've seen. The pieces were so big though that I had to, like the legs, I would pin them, glue them. I would let them sit for a whole day. I would come back and drill little holes in the side, fill that with more glue. Sew those, and then let that sit for another day because those pieces were so big. I was trying to make sure that everything just fit solid in that thing. But it was a joy. I really, really, truly enjoyed building. The mouth, I took about a good, I would say about 6 or 7 hours going on trying to detail the mouth.
I can tell.
And I'm going to say this before he showed the pictures. There was a technique I did with the eyes because I always watch Steve's stuff. And so with the eyes, you know, he has, in the movie, he has like them dark, veiny looks in the back of his eyes and stuff.
Yeah.
And so what I did was I airbrushed transparent black in the corners of the eyes. and then I took a paintbrush and I put like brown acrylic in there. And so once that dried, I took a wax varnish and I put it in the corners, and I knew it would make it run. It would make it run. So while it ran, I took a brush and kind of moved it around to give it like a vein look, and then let it dry. And so it was like literally messing up the paint to give it that look in the eyes. And then I came back and redesigned the eyes, and then put a varnish on the eyes to make it solid. And then it was just this whole little technique I tried to do with the eyes, man, to give it a realistic look. But I think it was one of the it probably is one of the best pieces I've ever done so far. And I mean, I absolutely loved it. I did. I loved it. I loved it.
I think it is the best piece. And let me just defend myself just a little bit, because you did go on a rant about how I am like this evil type of benefactor and boss and all that good stuff. So let me defend myself on that one, okay?
You can't.
He is absolutely right. I'm on all that. I am like that. Again, I pay my money up front. And so when I see him posting pictures of other people's stuff and not my stuff, oh yeah, I'm there. I'm like Godzilla. And he's like Kong. Remember when Kong got off the island and Godzilla was Kong? Godzilla was right there. That's me. When I see Marcellus, when I look at my phone, I see Marcellus posted, and I'm thinking that he's posting progress pics of my stuff. But instead, I see other people's stuff. I don't have it for those other people, but I'm like, okay, now get your ass back to work on my stuff that I paid you for. So again, I own that. I am.
Oh my God.
But I can do that because we're like family. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't really mean that. I mean, I
He
kind of
don't.
do, but I
It's
don't
all
really
in
mean it
fun.
like that. It's all fun and love.
Yeah.
But again, yeah, I am that guy. I own that.
But it's a good push.
I am that guy.
It's a good push.
It's a good push. And in fact, the fact you turned around the way you did in like 2 or 3 weeks, because again, the way you build and paint this thing, you would think, you worked on this for months. But that's the testament on how talented that you are.
Appreciate
So
it.
again, thank you for this. Now, we're about to unveil them, so just hold on just for a little bit. But this is actually the third Tengetsu crafts model kit I have in my collection. Kyle, you can pull up the 72, the both pictures of that. My first kit I ever got that I showcased on Collect All Monsters last year was the 50 centimeter resin model kit of the 1971 Godzilla, but I have Mark Sang-Yang build it. No, that's the 66 that I'm about to show. Yeah, that one. But I had Mark Sang-Yang build and paint that thing and made it into the 72, because that's what the suit was. The 72 was a modified version of the 71 suit, but technically this is originally the 71. So as you can see, Mark did a great job. I had him do the war battle paint, on his forehead, the wound that Gigan gave him. And this kit is also 50 centimeters tall, resin, awesome. Now you probably are noticing that the detail is not as crisp. I guess that's the thing about Tengetsu craft sculpts. He has like a hit or miss when it comes to sculpts, in my opinion. There are some sculpts that are great, and there are some sculpts that are not so great. This sculpt in particular, from what I understand from what Mark told me, he had really had a tough time putting this together. I think this kit was kind of like rushed out when it comes to production. So a lot of the pieces didn't flow together. So he had to do a lot more surgery than he needed to, right? But he got it together. But the detail's not as crisp on this guy. You know what I'm saying? Like the ridges, the tree bark skin that he has is not in pristine condition. Actually, I think that's a good thing, because we all know the 72 suit was on his last leg and in Gigan, right? So I think actually that this model kit not having the most pristine skin texture actually plays into how the suit looks. So I think it actually plays into that, quite frankly. Yeah. But he does look great. And my second one that I just got recently from John LeGrand and Charles Blankenship was the 1966 that I just showcased on our most recent episode on Collect All Monsters. And when you see this Godzilla, you know exactly where it's from. It's from Sea Monster. But it's Godzilla towards the tail end of Sea Monster, where he looked like he was under the influence of some alcohol or cocaine or whatever the case may be. Yeah, I know some people joked while I was on Collect All Monsters when I was showcasing this. They looked like I love it. I put him in the microwave and he just melted. I love it. You're not wrong for saying that, but again, this is how the suit looked, because again, the water damage took its toll on the suit at that point. So they
It's
replicated it
amazing.
in this model kit. So again, it may not be in the pristine condition as far as like the texture of the kit itself, but again, I think it kind of like the 72, it plays into that this Godzilla suit was shot because again, this suit will become like the water suit, for the remainder, not the remainder of the Showa period, but after Sea Monster became a water suit for Godzilla and Son of Godzilla, Destroy All
Yeah.
Monsters, and of course the final appearance was Hedra when he got drowned in that liquid, disgusting pit, whatever. I'm sure Nakajima was in that suit. Was like, you know what? I'm not doing too much more of this crap,
Right. Amazing.
So those are the two Tengetsu crafts kits that I have thus far before the 84 that I got. And speaking of like water suits, and I may be the minority for this, but if Tengetsu Crafts does make a water suit of Godzilla in Gigan, even though that's a 67 suit, Kyle, don't cut my stream off. I do love that suit. I love the 67 suit. I do. If they made a kit of how he looked in Gigan in the water scenes, I would definitely go after it. And I think Ryan Mitchell in the chat, I don't know if you saw it, Marcellus, but I think he said his next one that he's going to do is a gigantic 67.
Yeah,
So,
that's fun.
yeah. So he also
Saw
made a
that.
73 gigantic too. He made a 73 gigantic kit of the 73 Godzilla. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So again, some of his sculpts, again, for me, just my personal opinion, they're like hit or miss. There's some sculpts that are great, that are good for what they are, like the 72 and 66. Then there are some that are not so great. You know what I'm saying?
That 66 is amazing.
Yes, the 66. I mean, again, I know it's not
Really good.
it's not visually appealing because of how the suit looked, but I think for the look that kit was going for, it looks exactly like the water suit from Sea Monster. It looked like, again, the damage took its toll. You know, but you know what? It is time. It is time to the reason why we are here. Again, thank you so much for everybody for being here. Hear us talk about Godzilla 1985, how Kyle got it, how Marcellus built it, the history behind Tengetsu Crafts, at least my experience. But now I'm about to show you the reason why you are here. Now, before I bring them up, let me just say that to my knowledge, maybe Ryan, you can, I know you're a model kit guy, maybe you can correct me in the chat or whatever. But to my knowledge, this is the tallest and biggest 1984 collectible of Godzilla out there. I know Mark Sangame made a custom 84 statue for Phil the Kaiju King, but I think he stands at 18 inches tall. So this guy kind of supersedes him by a couple inches. Again, to my knowledge, this is the biggest 84 collectible of Godzilla himself that's out there. And so without further ado, Kyle, if you're gonna blow me up, please blow me up. But let me unveil the awesome kit that Kyle brought back from Japan, the awesome model kit that, of course, Marcellus built and painted for me. So, ladies and gentlemen, I give to you the 55 centimeter, 22 inches tall resin model kit of the 1984 Godzilla. Look at that!
Yes.
Woo! Look at that! Yes! 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 Thank you, Jesus, and thank you for the pastor that made him. Thank you! Look at that! Oh, God.
Oh my God!
When I got this the other day, when I unpackaged him, even Sandra was like, damn. Even Sandra was like, man, that Marcellus know what he's doing. Oh, God, look at that. Oh, look at that. Woo! Oh, God.
Oh, man.
Look at that.
Looks amazing.
Oh,
Looks
look at
amazing.
that.
Looks
Fantastic.
amazing. Yeah.
Beautiful. Marcellus, my
Amen.
God, you have made this my most favorite figure acquisition this year.
Thank you.
He's gonna have he's gonna have a little bit of competition in a few
Thank
months
you.
because the GMK Spiral, the Spiral Studios GMK GMK Godzilla is coming out. I'm so looking forward to him. But I'm speechless. I don't see anything topping this thing. I'm sorry. This thing is beautiful. Look at the mouth, like Marcellus said.
Yeah.
Look at that. He also added this tongue.
Yeah. They didn't
Oh
have a
yeah,
tongue.
didn't you say there was no tongue in the box?
Yeah, there was no tongue. It was listen, I looked because I had to. It was so big, I had to take it to my office to prime it and base coat it. And so I am tearing up my cars. I am outside because it gave me a thing and said it was connected to the dorsals. And I am looking for this thing, man. My wife is looking for it. We are tearing up. I thought I lost it. So I counted the dorsals. I'm like, wow, they never sent me a tongue. So what I did, if you watch the movie, every time he roars, the tip of his tongue is always kind of up like that. And so I was like, hey, I can create a tongue better than the one they was going to send me. So yeah, I actually sculpted and created the tongue to put in there.
Hey, Ryan said that the tongue was actually in the dorsal plate part.
It was not there. That's
It
what
wasn't there.
right. You're right. I had every dorsal, and the one where it was supposed to be, it was just like another dorsal. It never was there. Exactly. It was supposed to be on there with the dorsals, and I was like, wow, I got to create a tongue and two more dorsals. It was just tongue. The tongue was not on there. They gave me it was another dorsal. So yeah, we looked everywhere.
Leslie,
Look at
I
the
know
tail.
that I know that thing's got you're attached with your headphones right now to whatever you're streaming with, but you should like literally just pick that up, take a step back so people could see like how large that
Yeah.
is.
Okay.
'Cause
Yeah.
it's I mean, yeah. And
Yeah,
I'll
I
just
did
narrate
different
while Leslie does this.
because I did different techniques with the nails. I did different techniques with the
Yes.
nails
Oh
and
my
the feet.
god.
The tail, what I did with the tail, I actually put the tail on there, and then I filled the gap with the tail, right? And once I let it sit for about an hour, and then I pulled the tail off, and then I put some hardener around that after it dry. So I made that gap. I hardened it with the burnish and then some other stuff to make it really hard. I let that sit for like another day, and then I started.
Wow.
I primed that and painted that. So then once I sent the two different pieces to Leslie, I put two pegs in the tail. So all he had to do was slip it in, and the gaps are already filled. So there's no gap between the tail when he put it together and glued it back together. It was an amazing piece. The dorsals, they wasn't. It was work, but it wasn't hard. It was just more work than what you would normally do. The dorsals, I did like a certain airbrush technique on those that I tried on that. I airbrushed all the silver with each dorsal, and then I came back and then I put the base back in between the dorsals again. I put the dorsals, then I glued them on. I put paper in between each dorsal, and I redid the silver. And then I took a black transparent airbrush and went from the black back into the silver. So
Awesome.
it had this whole fade look to it. So the dorsals look like they just really faded together. And then I took another transparent gray and I went over the entire silver to give that silver that real dim, dark, but still vibrant look on there. So I did like
Dude,
a whole
that's
different
awesome.
technique with the airbrushes on his dorsal that I never done, and it came out really good. So it was nice. Yeah. It's a nice piece. It's a really nice piece, man. Yeah.
Oh, look at that! Oh, look at that! Oh God! Oh
Yeah,
God!
I did a lot of those dorsals. So every dorsal has its own fade look to it. The way I did it,
And you did it with silver, right? That's what you
yeah,
said?
I did. Yep, I did a black. Then I did the silver. Came back with the black again, and then did the silver. Yeah, I did a lot of work on that thing, man.
Well, it looks
Oh my
phenomenal.
goodness, look at that! And then I pegged the tail. So I don't like tail stands, and I wanted his feet to be nice and flat. And so, I drilled up under there. You can see there's a little metal peg that I do on a lot of my figures now. So you don't use no tail stand, so the feet can sit flat. And that tail stand never come off. And I always paint the tail stand whatever color the figure is. So you don't even see that there's a little pole up under his tail that he's kind of standing. Got that
See?
technique. I seen Mark Shang Yang did that and kind of stole that from him. I see he pegged those under the tail. And so, yeah, it was pretty cool, man. And then I matted him I matted him. Well, no, I take that back. I painted a satin varnish through his whole skin, and then I airbrushed a matte over him so he won't chip it. And then I matted him, and then I came back through with a gray, a brown and a gray, and kind of just brushed through his skin a little bit to give a little bit more of a depth and a highlight to it. I kind of did the same thing with the nails that I did with the dorsals. I painted them acrylic white, and then there's a translucent brown, a translucent yellow, and then I came over it with a black. Then I put a satin varnish on top of that to harden it, and then I put the gloss on top of that. So all those different layers gives it that real type of a technique look to it. A lot of work in those eyes that I did. It was a lot of fun. You know, give me a big kit like that, and I'm gonna have a blast with that thing. And then Leslie wanted it real dark and grim looking, and so that helped me out a lot because I actually washed it. I did 3 different washes on that thing, man, to get it that deep look inside the different cracks and crevices of it. So it was amazing. It was and for those kit builders, this was something that I just kind of did when I was packing it. I went and I got a whole lot of bubble wrap. If Leslie see it, I packed that thing. And
Yeah, you did.
And when I took it to the UPS, I went back up there because they picked it up for me. And I went back up and I called them. I told them they put glass all over it. So
nice.
instead of putting fragile, my guys put glass stickers all over that thing.
Smart.
And so they were like, Mr. Winters, anytime you send out something, you just let us know and it's fragile, we'll put glass. So that means they're going to handle it like they had glass in there. So I made sure that thing was not going to be broken when we got it.
I was going to say, I thought Leslie was going to like reroute one of his truck runs to like come straight to Ohio, grab it, and just put it in the passenger seat on the way back to North Carolina.
I almost did. I almost did.
Wait, I almost drove it to him though, because my dad lives about 45 minutes from Leslie, and I got to go.
Oh, that's awesome.
He used to live in Nicedale, and I got real busy for the week, but I was going to surprise Leslie. I was going to go ahead and just drive it down to him because I was going to go see my dad. So, but I actually pushed it back.
But I got kind of paranoid because he sent me the tracking number like on Sunday. And it's like, and every morning I'm waking up and I'm refreshing it, you know. And on Tuesday, it said the same thing, a label created, but it has not shipped. So I text Marcellus, and before I text, I was like, okay, you can't be the mean Leslie. He's a pastor. He's your best friend. So how can you say it without sounding pushy, but just get your point across? And I was like, look, it hasn't been picked up or whatever, you know. And he was like, I'll check into it. And later on that evening, there was movement. But when I got it, again, it had glass all over the packaging. And I was like, wow, that's smart. You know what I'm saying? But he packed it really, really well. Nothing was loose. Nothing came apart, you know, whatever. He packed it perfectly. I couldn't ask for a better way he packed it. I couldn't ask for a better way he has built this thing. For the longest time, the Side-By 84 from Monster Maker 28 was my favorite 84. But he's up there. I'm like, nah, dude, you're number 2 now. You're number 2. So, and I can't wait to showcase this more on our Facebook group, Collector Monsters, Monster Collectors. Please join the Facebook group. Also, subscribe to this channel. I can't wait to put this guy up against the other 84s I have. You know, the Side-By 84 from Monster Maker 28, the Sakai 84 from X Plus, the Death for Real. But again, this is like my favorite 84s. You know what? I told you, Marcellus, that the 91 you made me was my favorite Heisei piece.
Right.
Now he's just been replaced. This is my favorite Heisei piece. And my next question is, I guess my last question is, Marcellus, are you open to more commissions? Yes or no?
Oh yeah. Definitely. You guys have been amazing. I do have a lot right now. I have a good friend. I call him my good friend now, Michael. He's over in New Zealand, and this guy's keeping me busy. But I am definitely open. I try to do, what I was doing with Leslie when he was seeing he'll see that, then he'll see a Gigan, and then he'll see a tall rider. I work on several things at one time because I watch how John LeGrand does things and Mark. So I prime things, I'm base coating things, I'm painting things, I'm detailing. So I try to work on several things at a time. I don't. Me and Mark was talking about this. So like with Leslie's, if somebody send me something like that, you got to be prepared for what I'm gonna do because once you do something like that, you really don't know how to do less than what you've done. And Leslie really pushed me with that one. But I'm definitely open to it, man. I've got, and I really thank you, Leslie. I really appreciate you, man. You know that from the heart. I appreciate you so much. It can almost bring tears to my eyes, and that's real talk. Because being a part of the community, being a pastor, man, I'm so busy. I'm pulled on, and I do get emotional for real. And so meeting you and pulling me into this is giving me like such a great outlet. It's brought me back to airbrushing and doing things I haven't done in almost 20, 30 years, man. And I have a lot of fun with it. I was sculpting one of the dosa plates, and the Zacto slipped out my hand, and it literally cut my knuckle all the way down to the bone. And I mean, it was horrible. My other finger swelled up, and my wife was like, "Yeah, go to the hospital. You gotta go to the hospital." And my nephew, he's like, "Yeah, go to the hospital." Man, I kept airbrushing them dorsals. They were trying to glue my hand together, and I just kept on doing it because when I'm in a rhythm with things, I don't like to break that. But yeah, man, I really appreciate you letting me, because you were the first person that said, "Hey, you did a Kong. I'm about to trust you with this 91." And every time I do a figure, man, I try to make it like it's my first piece that I'm doing. And shout out to John LeGrand again, man. I was so lost on how to weigh that thing down, and I actually called LeGrand, man, and John just was like, "Marcellus, do this, go get this, go do this, do it like this." And I was like, "Cool." And I hit him back. I said, "John, it worked." And I called Mark. "Hey, Mark, how do you do such and such?" And I really appreciate those guys, man. There are so many amazing builders, and I appreciate them, man. I do. Some of them have literally sent some of their commission work over to me, man, and that means a lot. I really appreciate you guys. I really do, really do, really do.
So remember, folks, if you come across a kit, if you get more into the model kit thing, just because I know that we have so many great artists in our community. We got David Dopko, Steve Serrajoli, John LeGrand, Mark Sangang, Burley Vank, but now we have Marcellus, so if you want to get more into the model kit game, all you got to do is secure the model kit, and we got plenty of people who may be open to commissions to help you out with those kits, because there are a lot of monsters out there that are in model kit form that maybe X Plus or maybe Mondo or any of these other companies may not even touch, right? But that's where model kits come into play. I know a lot of folks like myself don't have the expertise to build and paint these things. That's where Marcellus and David and Steve and all these wonderful artists in our community come into play. So just get you a kit and send it to Marcellus, and he'll do for you what he has done for me. And again, my favorite 84 collectible is my favorite Heisei collectible. And that is pretty much going to do it for this unveiling. I want to thank every single person in the chat that has been here for like an hour and a half talk with us as we talk about this awesome model kit, 85 Godzilla the movie, and all that good stuff. Thank you so much for being here. But most of all, I cannot thank you enough, both Kyle and Marcellus, for doing what you did, for going over and beyond to ensure this happy moment for me. Kyle doing what you did with, lugging the 85-pound bag around and all that good stuff. And, and Marcellus, you doing what you did, knowing that I was like a bulldog on you almost every single day. And, but the fact that y'all did that for me, y'all went over and beyond for me. I really do appreciate it. And y'all have made me so, so happy. Right now, my favorite collectible acquisition of 2023 couldn't happen without the both of y'all. So I give both of y'all a round of applause. So thank you. Thank you so much. And I really do appreciate you being here as we unveiled the Tengetsu Crafts 84 Godzilla 22 inches tall, 55 centimeters. So be able to find one in the wild out there, and that's a big if because I heard there was like really a small number of them. Maybe Ryan Milcher, if you're in the chat, maybe you can let us know how many they were. But I was under the impression that there were not that many out there. You know what I'm saying? But if you do find one, as you saw here, once it's painted right, you'll have yourself the ultimate 84. No doubt the biggest 84 collectible in your collection. So if you find one, please go after it. You will not be disappointed. Before we get up out of here, Kyle or Marcellus, you have anything that you want to plug before we roll up out of here?
I'll just say, don't forget, we got a new episode of Collect All Monsters happening April 15th at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. That is going to be all about kaiju one-hit wonders, or I think one-hit kaiju wonders. And it should be a lively conversation. Plus, our own John Ruffin just got back from Japan, so he's going to be giving us a little bit of a Japan report as well. So it should be a great time, and that's all I got to plug, I think.
I mean, to expand upon that, I like one kaiju hit wonders. At least these monsters that have made like a one-time appearance, but yet they have made a huge impression upon you and have like, and they're kind of like achieve cult status. We're not going to tell you which host picked, but what particular monster, but to tell you some of the monsters that are out there that we're sticking with the movies, right? They only made a one-time appearance. Yeah, they only made a one-time appearance. You have Toho Frankenstein, the Gargantuous, Gabara, Megalon, Titanosaurus, Destroyer, Space Godzilla, Batra, Monster X. Spoiler alert, nobody on Collect All Monsters is choosing Monster X. If you're a Final Wars fan, I apologize, you'll get over it. But nobody's doing Monster X. Just want to let you know that right now. But I think that will be a fun show, showcasing those monsters that again only had a one-time appearance, but yeah, still have like cult status, and we still, they should get some love too. It's not all about Godzilla, Rodan, Mothra, King Ghidorah, Mechagodzilla. They have had appearances upon appearances. Sometimes it's about those other monsters, the one-timers. Like I said, Gabara, Titanosaurus, Destroyer, Batra, Megaguirus, Orga. You know what I'm saying? So that would be a fun show in a few weeks because this is April 1st. Marcellus, what do you have that you want to plug?
I want to plug this real quick. I want to thank Dave Aerodopco for me. He the one who really showed me how to start doing kits. I'll never forget that. He had a phone call with me. I think it was on Valentine's Day some years back, and he the one who literally told me how to do kits, how to gap, how to do all these different things. I want to do this real quick. Leslie was not the only person that was working people down at Wonderfest. So if you want to know why I keep bending down, I have a quick box day, Mr. Box Day every day. So while I was sitting here, the Wonderfest 50 centimeter Osaka Castle just came.
Oh,
dude, nice. That's rad.
This is
they had 50... that. They had a huge Gomora.
Yeah,
next to that at the show.
And that's who it was. The you can buy that, and so I had a friend, Michael Hain. He had some people there, and they were working it for me, and I was talking back and forth with the actual designer, and I wanted just the castle, and I did not want Gamora, and so I didn't even know it was going to come painted already, and so I just I hit my guy Michael. He sent it over, and I was talking to the creator, and I just got a email saying it's being shipped, and 2 days it came. And so the other parts of it is over here, where you can put the your kaiju inside of there. This thing is insane, man. And
do you want to tease what you're going to do with that? Do you want to tease what you're going to do with that?
So I have a wait to see what's going to be unveiled during G-Fest. I have a 50 centimeter Kaiju Freaks Godzilla 62.
Oh,
and I have the Kong with the rock, and so I have the 50 centimeter Kong. So I'm going to put a diorama of the Kaiju of the 62 Kong thing, man, and awesome. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy.
You already won. You already won that.
Man, listen, this, and I'm gonna say this, and I'm done. This is definitely a grail. I have been, y'all see all this stuff back here. I have been looking for a huge Osaka castle for years since I've been doing this. And when this thing dropped at Wonderfest, that's all I saw. I was just like, I didn't see nothing else. I ended up getting other stuff, but this is all I saw. And for the guy I was doing commission for, when Michael said, "Hey man, I got some friends there. Anything you want?" I said, "I want that castle." Man, he went over. I think it was like 5 minutes later. He texted me back. He said, "Marcellus, we got a castle for you." And at the same time, I was talking to the designer of it. And yeah, man. So I got the Osaka castle, man. So look to see what's coming. I got some awesome dioramas and some awesome stuff I'm about to put out, man. And yeah, I enjoy it. I'm enjoying myself. It's gonna be crazy. Defense gonna be crazy.
So again, thank
John Brinkley too. John Brink, John has been amazing too. John has been giving me so many guys, man, has been giving me so many points. John, Burley, man, thank you guys, man. I really, really, truly appreciate you guys pouring into me, man. Appreciate it so much. Don't take that for granted at all. So,
but again, I want to thank Marcellus, you for being here, and of course Kyle. I could not have done this without y'all, because y'all really are the reason why I had this. But again, the Tengetsu Crafts 55 centimeter 1984 Godzilla kit. If you can find it, get it. Send it to Marcellus. He'll hook you up. In my opinion, one of the best, if not the best, definitely the biggest 1994 collectible that is out there. So thank you so much for being here. We really do appreciate it. And since we already plugged everything, I guess, Kyle, will you take us out with our awesome, famous catchphrase, please?
Until next time, our planet may be doomed, our Earth devastated, the monsters are in revolt, and civilization is in chaos. We must unite and collect all monsters.
Monsters!
Have a good one, you guys. Thanks for being here.